Welcome. So today the class will be about inheritance. You can see in my background, it's Punnett squares. So what we will do this week, we're already in week 12, is the concept about inheritance. We just see the basic ones, but basically all the more complex things is based on this as well. We will first see everything about Gregor Mendel, a small video and an introduction, and then some theory, and then how these squares and these inheritance patterns work. We're going to do that with some exercises because that's the best way to learn. So if you pay attention, then you will do good for the quiz on Friday. On Friday we have a quiz, and for sure you get some questions on the exam about this as well. So let's have a look. Here is the theory. So George Mendel was basically a scientist, a monk who was doing science, and he had a lot of time. So he discovered things way before his time. So let's first watch a video about it. It's a very complete video, but I'm not liking him that much, the person that explains, because he talks really fast. But anyway, let's have a look to it. And he has some jokes. I don't know if you like the jokes or not. I'll leave that up to you.
Today I have for you.
So let me share my screen, and then it's about 10 minutes, and then we will continue. How do I share the sound? There we go.
You a sizzling tale of a chubby little friar who changed the world with a garden full of pea plants. Today's great mind in science is Gregor Mendel, an Austrian monk who in the mid-1800s single-handedly fathered modern genetics. But even though Mendel was a man of God, as it were, he and his pea plants are one of the biggest...
I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I'm not seeing the video.
Lord, I love a good...
I'm seeing Word, I think so.
Okay.
It's the documents.
Okay, something is wrong. Should be this one. No,
Mendel was born in 1822 in what was then
now we can see it.
Now the Czech Republic. His parents were super poor, but the young Gregor was such a precocious little scamp that they spent all of their money educating him. That is, at least until his dad was injured in a farming accident, which I imagine is the #1 occupational hazard associated with being a pre-industrial revolution Austrian peasant. His family did what they could to help him out, but eventually Mendel decided that being an Augustinian monk didn't seem so bad. Now I'll point out here that the record of Mendel's life and work are pretty spotty, actually, because the priests who dealt with his personal effects after his death got rid of almost everything, not knowing how extraordinarily important it all was. But in one of the very few of Mendel's papers that survived, Mendel let on that he was not called to the church as some people were. My circumstances decided my vocational choice, is how he put it. Anyway, in 1843, Mendel moved into the monastery at Brno, Austria, and this turned out to be a pretty good move for him because he basically got sent to college for free. And, you know, dating is such a drag. Who need that anyway? After a failed attempt at becoming a science teacher, he started spending all of his free time in the gardens with some common garden peas. And being a scientist at heart, he started doing experiments on them. For the record, right now, you, and I don't care who you are, you know much more about how heredity works than Mendel did when he started, not to mention chromosomes and DNA. At the time, microscopes weren't good enough to even observe basic cell division, so nobody knew dog squat about how sexual reproduction worked. In Mendel's day, it was generally thought that making a baby was putting the parent's genetic material into a blender and just mixing it up real good. People assumed, for example, that if a white squirrel and a black squirrel were to have babies, their offspring would be great. What Mendel discovered, after whispering sweet nothings to a yard full of pea plants for 8 years, was that this line of thinking was entirely wrong. Mendel set us straight on the fundamental properties of inheritance, which eventually paved the way for the development of modern genetics. Mendel's choice of research subjects for this endeavor was shockingly perfect for one important reason. The traits that he studied, the color of pea flowers and the color and textures of the peas themselves, are only determined by a single gene. This turns out not to be the case for almost every physical trait in most organisms. In fact, the vast majority of inherited traits are either the product of 2 or more genes working together to determine, say, eye color or ear shape, or the product of one trait having a hand at a bunch of different physical traits. How did Mendel Mendel know that? How did he know? Well, he probably started out by noticing that the flowers of his pea plants in the garden were purple most of the time, but then every once in a while, they produced white ones. Since he studied heredity in college, he knew that the way to get to the bottom of this was to create true breeding lines of purple flowered peas and a true breeding line of white flowered peas. So he brought the purple ones together for successive generations until he was getting purple flowers all of the time, and he did the same thing for the white ones. Having done this, Mendel then started a series of extremely methodical experiments in which he bred the purely purple-flowered and the purely white-flowered plants together. And in doing this for successive generations, he eventually realized, Gott in Himmel, the pea flowers are white almost exactly 1/4 of the time. This led him to 3 important conclusions. Important conclusion number 1, Mendel discovered that pea plants were inheriting a pair of genetic instructions from each parent. Sometimes both instructions from a parent would tell the flower to be purple, sometimes they'd both be for white flowers, and sometimes there would be one instruction for each. Mendel called these versions of a gene passed from parent to offspring factors, but these days we call them alleles. And so the baby pea plant had 2 alleles for flower color, one chosen randomly from mom and one chosen randomly from dad. And these genetic instructions, the genotype as we call it now, decided what the outward appearance of the pea flower, the phenotype, was going to be. Important conclusion number 2, Mendel also found that the allele for purple flowers was stronger, or more dominant, than the white allele, which was recessive. Since the purple allele was dominant and the white was recessive, a plant inheriting one purple and one white allele would produce purple flowers. Important conclusion number 3. Even though the purple allele was dominant, that didn't mean that it was being tossed into the mix more often. It was just being expressed more often. In fact, Mendel concluded that which trait a parent was throwing into the ring, purple or white, was totally random. But a dominant allele was always going to trump a recessive allele. So through these 3 conclusions, Mendel came up with a hard and fast rule about genetic inheritance, Mendel's first law, or the law of segregation, that says that every individual possesses 2 alleles for any particular trait, like for example flower color, and which allele a parent gives its offspring is completely random. The offspring then has 1 allele from mom and 1 allele from dad, and of those 2 alleles, the dominant one is the one trait that the offspring will express. If and when both of the alleles happen to be recessive, only then will the recessive trait be expressed. But Mendel went even farther with his pea plants, and no, I'm not going to shut up about pea plants, it's fascinating, okay? And he got similar results in his experiments on the seeds of the pea plants, which are the peas. He discovered that 2 traits of the pea, its color and its skin texture, had nothing to do with each other. Now, his peas could be either green or yellow in color, either have smooth or wrinkly skin. Mendel found that when he took a smooth yellow pea and crossed it with a green wrinkly pea, he could, with the same mathematical precision as he did with the flower, predict the ratio of yellow smooth, yellow wrinkly, green smooth, and green wrinkly peas. So the other rule that Mendel contributed to our understanding of genetics is Mendel's second law, or the law of independent assortment, which says that separate genes are passed independently from each other from parent to offspring. In this case, 2 dominant traits in peas, the wrinkliness and the yellowness, were unrelated. Pretty big deal, right? Well, Mendel ended up writing a paper called Versuch über Pflanzenhybriden, if you sprechen Sie Deutsch, which clearly I do not. And that was published in a little rinky-dink scientific journal, and he presented his findings to the equivalent of some 19th century garden clubs. He also sent his paper to every fancy-pants scientist he could think of, but here's the thing. The big shots don't like to take notice of him because none of them knew what the hell he was talking about. Mendel's work was so far ahead of its time that his experiments didn't even make sense to his contemporaries. In fact, his data didn't become useful to researchers until nearly 35 years after he published them. So Mendel lived for another 20 years or so after he published his findings, and by all accounts he was a totally happy dude. He became the abbot of the monastery, and he had a lot of smart friends who liked to talk science. His doctor had him smoking 20 or so cigars every day to help him lose weight. Not an effective strategy if anybody's interested, but he was never recognized for the monolithic contributions he made to science during his lifetime. But then, around 1900, scientists were independently working to figure out what Mendel had already discovered, because there were a lot of people still going around hollering, "Oh, white squirrel, black squirrel make gray squirrel," which was by now becoming more and more obviously wrong. Microscopes had gotten a lot better and more powerful, and people were observing chromosomes. They had no idea what they were, but they were observing them. And it wasn't until a group of scientists dug up Mendel's papers and applied his laws to discoveries that had been made since that everybody working on heredity put down their beakers and were like, oh. And suddenly the scientific community was totally bonkers for Gregor Mendel. He was heralded as the father of modern genetics, and they made a little special shrine to him at his test garden at the monastery. And scientists would make pilgrimages there to weep over his hoes and shovels and stuff. Okay, I don't know about that last part. But the point is that suddenly Gregor Mendel became a very big deal. And then, in 1936, this statistician named Ronald Fisher published a paper examining Mendel's data. Fisher was like, hey, you guys, I love Mendel and everything, but have you looked at his data? They're really good, like maybe statistically implausible. Fisher was a statistician and a geneticist and a big Mendel fan, so in his research of Mendel's paper he admitted that in a lot of ways Mendel really was the methodical genius superhero scientist that everyone gave him credit for being. But he also saw that all of Mendel's data corroborated his theory really well. Like, the data turned out to be eerily perfect for thousands of plants and dozens of experiments conducted over the 8 years. So Fisher was like, in conclusion, someone might have probably kind of fiddled with Mendel's data, but it definitely wasn't Mendel. It could have been one of his assistants, maybe? Because, you know, Fisher hated to do it. He buried most of the really incriminating evidence about the data fiddling in the back of the paper. And some people read it, but most people didn't, so it didn't cause much of a kerfuffle at first. But when the Mendel Centennial celebrations came along in the 1960s, some people dug up Fisher's paper, and all of a sudden the scientific community went all Animal Planet on Mendel. Like, this guy, he existed before science, so you can't give him a super hard time about being like, well, I must have crossed that P wrong. Don't include that one in the data. He didn't know about science. This was before like good science was being done. He was a monk. Give him a break! Even now, there are Mendel-Fisher controversy aficionados out there who talk about this stuff till the lights go out. Nearly 50 years later, people are still writing books and papers about it, most of them trying to prove that Mendel was completely faultless. But nobody's been able to explain what Fisher found, the apparent data fiddling, selective reporting, omission, whatever you want to call it. The important thing is that Mendel put us all on the right track, and of course genetics ended up being way more convoluted than Mendel's work could explain. But what Mendel gave us was a firm hypothesis on which to base other studies by countless other geneticists who worked to discover and understand chromosomes and DNA in the 20th century. Today, traits that have been shown to operate under Mendel's laws, like albinism, are known as Mendelian traits. There are lists of these traits in humans and in other animals, and we put some links to those down in the description. If you have an idea for a great mind that you'd like us to profile, please let us know through the Twitter.
So that's Mendel. Let's go over the theory quickly. The theory might seem a little bit confusing in the beginning, but once we get to the exercises, you will see it's really not such a big deal. And what he told you, yeah, it's always interesting to see it for a change, because the history of science is always interesting to see how we came to know things that we know today. So it's very short, the theory about this, because we're really going to focus on the exercises. So we have the laws of dominance, okay? What is the laws of dominance? Is basically that we write down alleles with letters. Alleles is like a gene, you know? Brown eyes gene, if it's dominant, we write it with a capital B. Blue eyes, which is often recessive, we write it down with a small b. So it's the gene for eye color, which we call allele, because it's on a certain place in on a chromosome. Okay, so you know we have always double chromosomes, so that's why a parent should always have double, because most of you have brown eyes, so your alleles will be capital B and capital B. This will be the case for all of you who have parents with brown eyes. If your parent has blue eyes, your allele will look like this. You know, if one parent is brown eye, another one is blue eye, it will look like this. We go there in a second in the exercises to understand this fully. So laws of segregation, we already have seen that a little bit as well. What are the laws of segregation? They imply, in fact, that whenever you have a heterozygous cell, yeah, a homozygous cell, which is with two same genes, after meiosis, you get like sperm cells in this case, because this is the father, let's say. So after meiosis, you have 4 sperm cells, and this is an egg cell, and after meiosis, you get 4 egg cells. Whenever they combine, you can have a heterozygous. Okay, so the baby would be heterozygous for this gene because it has a capital P and a small p, while the parent has homozygous, which means two capital P's and two small p's for the mother. Okay. What are the laws of independent assortment? This is in fact the laws that implicate that when meiosis is happening, like you see here, that you can have all kinds of different combinations. You never know with what kind of genes or combinations you end up with. So if you take the example for two chromosomes and two genes here, you can see you can end up with a small p and a small t, a big P, a big T,
Teacher,
combined.
yeah, are you sharing the slides or something?
No, sorry.
The screen because
Okay, sorry, I wasn't sharing. Okay, let's go back then quickly. So dominance, we already have seen that. Here is what I thought I was sharing. So here, the dominant one is a capital B, and the one that is recessive, we write it as a small b. And that's an allele. That's what we really write about the genes, okay?
Teacher,
Yes?
but what about if your parents, both of them have brown eyes and one of their sons have...
Okay. If that happens, that's why I would like to go to the exercises for you to see how that works, okay? I have to open them again because they have information on it. Wait a second, please.
poop. Poop.
Shh.
The guest teacher.
Sorry?
Who's the guest with you?
I didn't understand what you said.
Who is the guest that is with you?
It's my daughter. She is 3 years old.
She's so cute.
I know, right?
Yeah, yeah, she came in and yeah, she all of a sudden, they always do that, in fact. I'm sorry, she distracted me a lot and now I lost my document, but I'll get there. 1 second, please, and I'll open it. I'm all confused.
No problem.
Anyway, it's the other group, they also didn't have any problems with it. So I really want to tell you, don't be scared of this. Seriously, it's really simple, and 99% of the students, they really get it very quickly. Okay.
Teacher, is it on Canvas?
No, this is not.
Open it.
But I'll share these exercises with you. Then you can have a look at it. Okay. Am I sharing correctly my screen now? Can you see it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's do these exercises together. So let's talk that plants are humans. Okay. We're talking about plants here. The idea is the same, but of course, plants don't have sperm or egg cells that works a little bit different, but it really doesn't matter. So let's start with an example. I have a green pea plant.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yes.
The table we can see there, the one of the G's, is the same one that you have on your background.
No, that's a different one. But we will see many examples, Anna Pao, don't worry. So a green pea plant, let's assume this is the father, and the yellow pea plant, this is the mother. So usually what we do is rewrite it down here. So a green pea plant, G, this is the father, and as a G for the other one. Why are there two? Because the father has the two chromosomes, just like the mother. That's why there are two, okay? That's the first thing you have to understand. Why is there two? Because each organism has like two genes, okay? Because that's what meiosis is all about. And we're talking here about the gene that codifies for the color of the plant. And the yellow one has the chromosomes G and G. So these letters, they represent a gene on a chromosome, okay? One from the mother, one from the father, one from the mother, one from the father. This is the father. So let me, I can write that if you want. No, yeah, it's difficult here. So this is the father, let's say. And on this side, you write the mother. Doesn't matter where you write what, the outcome is always the same. But I just want to explain it. So that's the mother, okay? Everybody understands why there are two? Because we are diploid organisms, right? We have two chromosomes of each, which means that depending on the egg the mother has or the sperm that the father has, we can pass on one or the other. So that gives us this table to make these combinations possible. And how you do that is you take the one G and you combine it with the other G. So this is because I combine here, in this one, I combine this G with this G, okay? If I do that here, I get a small g and I get a small g, okay? Everybody understands what I'm doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. So here, what would I get here?
Capital G and lowercase g.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's what I get here. It's weird that it goes different. And here I get two G's again, okay? So this thing, what you see on top here, this is what we call the genotype. See, genotype. Dominant or recessive. Dominant means when it's a capital letter, and recessive means when it's a small letter, okay? And what we have here, this is what we call the phenotype, okay? Phenotype, okay? Phenotype refers to the characteristics you get. So if I write down about this phenotype and the offspring, we write F1. This is the first offspring, the first generation. So if this father plant and this mother plant, they make babies, what do you get? How many percent green plants do you get?
50%.
50%, yes. Why is it 50%? Because every possibility with a capital G in it means that the plant will be green. And there is only two cases with a capital G. So I have 50% green. And then the other one, which is the two double small G's, is 50% yellow. Okay, that's what we call the phenotype. Okay, it's very simple, in fact. And of course, you can do this with 8 or with 16. It can become really complex. If you don't get it yet, don't worry. We will do more exercises about it, and it all will become clear. Okay? So here, a tall plant. So let's assume that my father is a tall plant. So TT, this is the father. Okay? And the mother is also a tall plant. Okay? So here the mother is a capital T and a small t. Capital T and a small t. Okay, that's what we put here. That's the mother, let's say. Okay. So why is the father tall? Because there is two T's. Okay, two capital T's. Why is the mother tall? Because there is one big T, and one big T is enough because it's dominant, okay? So if I fill this in, what is my first square? What do I get in my first square?
2 capital T. Capital T.
2 capital T.
And the second one?
2 capital T.
Capital T.
Okay, and here?
1 capital T.
Capital T.
Lowercase
Capital
t.
small.
Okay, and here?
Same.
Same.
T and 1 lowercase t.
Okay, so what is the phenotype here? My F1. F1 means generation 1, the first babies. If I write F2, it means the second generation. So that's the babies of the babies, but then you would have to make a new table, but that's not in our course. So it will usually be F1. So what happens here in F1? What do we get?
100% tall. 100% tall.
Yeah, exactly. Why do we get 100% tall? Because our 4 possibilities, 1, 2, 3, 4, they all have a big T in it, and T is dominant, so it means that all the plants will have a big, will be tall, okay? Guys, another thing, if I have this tall plant here, the father, is it homozygous or heterozygous? Because that's terms that you also have to know.
Homo.
Homozygous. Homozygous, dominant or recessive?
Dominant.
Okay, that's also you have to know. The mother, what is she? The capital.
She's heterozygous.
Okay, very good. The mother is heterozygous. Okay.
But is she still dominant or is she recessive?
She will be dominant because she has a big T in it, but she has both, so she's both dominant and recessive. She's dominant for one allele and recessive for the other allele. Okay, but we don't write that down because it really depends on the combination. But here, the father, we can say homozygous dominant, which because it's double T, so it's only dominant, and here it's dominant and recessive for both. Okay, let's continue. Tall plant crossed with a short plant. Okay, so let's assume that the tall plant is the father, big T, small t. Okay, this one, of course, is heterozygous. And then the mother is she homozygous or heterozygous?
Homozygous.
Homozygous.
No, yeah, homozygous recessive, okay? Because she has two small t's, okay? So this is homozygous. But you don't even have to write it. It's really not that important that. So let's combine them. T, right? Two small t's, another big T and a small t, and two small t's. Okay. So how does my offspring look like?
50% tall and
50% tall and 50% short.
Okay. I'm glad you get it. You see, it's really not that hard. It's very simple, in fact. Okay. The red and the white flower is exactly the same. I'm not going to do it. It's exactly the same as the previous one. Only the characteristics is different. So let me find. I'm going to find if there's a bit more difficult one. So no, in this one not. So let's go to the other more difficult page. Okay. Flower color. So you can take whatever characteristic you want, eye color, flower color, shape, sizes, whatever. This is just the easy thing. So let's fill in this this document here. Pen, come here. There you are, pen. Okay. So we have a PP, father, big P. I always put the father on top and the mother horizontal, but it really doesn't matter how you put it because your outcome will always be the same. If the mother is also completely dominant, homozygous dominant, this is what it looks like. And if I combine them, yeah, this is super easy because this will all be the same. But I do it because it's it has different questions. Okay, so what is the color of the parents?
Purple. Purple.
Both purple. What are the color of the children?
All purple. All purple.
100% purple. Okay, everybody get this? Very simple. This is the same, but they are all recessive here, so it would be too simple again. Let's do seed shape here. So we have a father with capital R. Capital R here, capital R there. The mother, small r. Guys, everybody does this okay in the exam. I really, the only ones that don't do it good in the exam is the ones that they have never seen a Punnett square before or they didn't pay attention. Okay, so this will become R, like all of them, in fact. No, not all of them. This. Everybody agrees with me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we have this situation, what are the shape of the parents?
One is round and the other is wrinkled.
Yeah, father is round and mother. Always be as complete as possible. And mother, what is she?
Wrinkled.
Wrinkled.
Okay. The children?
They are all going to be round.
Yeah, they're all going to be round because they all have a capital R in it. Okay. Very good. We can also do this one here, pot color. I mean, it's very simple. We're getting there. So let's get the father again. G. So it's a heterozygous father, and we have a homozygous mother. And guys, this is not some kind of this is really how it works in real life. This is how geneticists do it, but of course they have tables that are like in Excel, you know, you have all kinds of different possibilities. This is the most simple thing you can have, but imagine it's like I don't know, 28 long and here 28 long. They can really become big, these tables.
And how do you know which gene is recessive and which gene is dominant?
You can find that on the internet in the internet databases. Okay. So yeah, you have to know that, but you can find that in the literature. Okay, so some genes are always dominant, other ones are always recessive, and then we will also see the thing of codominance, and that's the thing what I also told in the other group. You know, think about skin color. Okay, you're a Caucasian person. Let's assume you're white, and you make a baby with a black person, an African black person. The chance of this baby being 100% black or 100% white is very little, because what really happens is what?
Mixture.
Yeah, they get mixed. So that means that's what codominance is all about. When they're both, both of the genes are expressed, you get basically a mix of both things. But that's the racist part of it, because I'm a white person. Many of you are also considered white. But if I would make a baby with a black girl from Africa, our baby would be mulat. We call that mulat. No, they would be like a combination between white and black, but they are still considered black. They would never be considered white. And that's the irony of things, you know, and that's why racism is so ridiculous. I also told that in the other group. Let's go back to this exercise. So we have here on top the father, here vertical the mother. What is the color of the parents to start with? Because that's the question.
Green and yellow?
No, father.
Both green, no?
Father is green, yes, and mother is?
And mother also green.
Also green.
Mother
green.
And the children
the
are
children
green.
is?
Green.
green.
Yeah, 100% green. Okay.
So the recessive, even though we have it, it doesn't express itself.
Yes, it does. Look at the next one. Here it would happen. It could happen if you have the following situation. So if you have a heterozygous father with a big S and a small s, and if you have a homozygous recessive mother, then you can have the expression of a recessive one, because this would look like this. And recessive, it means you can only see it when both are small, for instance, like in this case. So this pot shape is a good exercise. So what is the shape of the father here?
Smooth.
Smooth.
Yeah, the father is smooth. And the mother is what?
Bumpy.
Bumpy.
The mother is bumpy. And now you see what happens with the children, okay?
50 bumpy, 50 smooth.
Yeah, indeed. 50% is smooth, and 50% is bumpy in the first generation, okay? Okay, I have here another one. Let's go to different style exercises. If I'm going too fast, tell me, yeah, but I think you get there. It's really not that hard. Let's see if you pay attention. Plant height. So what's the genotype of the missing father here?
T and T.
TT in both in capital letters.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's the father. What are the phenotypes of the father, of the parents?
What is
The father is tall and the mother as well.
Mother, tall. And the children?
tall?
Tall.
100% tall.
Okay, there we go. Okay, this one is also fun. Chin cleft. Chin cleft is la barbita partida, like they say in Spanish. Okay, so if the father would be like two small C's, what would the mother be here?
Dominant C
Capital
and then small c.
and small.
Very well. So that's it. What's the phenotype of the children?
50-50.
50% cleft, 50% no cleft. Okay, very good. Ah, this is for the children. And the parents?
One would be chin cleft and the other one no chin cleft.
The father no chin cleft and the mother chin cleft.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
If like for example, the mother has blue eyes and the father has black eyes, what happens like if what have to happen if the son if the son has the blue eyes?
So, okay, that depends what the mother is. So depends who you marry with, Dejong, because if it depends, you first have to investigate what are your genes. Are you homozygous or are you heterozygous? And then you have to see what your partner is. So it really depends. It's difficult to say because there's different options. Look, for example, I have blue eyes because my both grandparents had blue eyes. My mother has blue eyes, and on the other side, my both grandparents have blue eyes, and my mother has blue eyes. So in my case, because I'm telling for myself because I know I am like double homozygous blue eyes. Okay, and what happened? My wife Xiomara, she is double homozygous brown eyes. So what happened in our case basically is that my children, it was impossible for them to have blue eyes because Xiomara, she doesn't have a gene for blue eyes. So I could never have children with blue eyes. Okay. I at least not with Xiomara, with somebody else, yes, but yeah, that's not gonna work because I'm already married with her. But yeah, that's the thing. So basically what happened is that my children, they don't have brown eyes and they don't have blue eyes. For instance, my oldest daughter, she has hojitas de miel. She has like honey eyes. They're brownish, but not that brown. And then the other two, the twins, they also have clear eyes because there is some of the blue in their eyes as well. So it's really nice. Guys, the next exercise here, dimples in humans. I want to pay attention, please. So, okay, what is the missing genotype of the parent here?
Dominant D and then recessive D. Ah, no. What's happening
I
there?
think there's a mistake.
Yeah.
Is there a mutation?
No, there's no mutation. There is a mistake. I'm glad you saw it because if you saw it, it means that you understand. So what's the problem here? Which one is wrong? So this one can only be a big D, right? This one should be a small d because otherwise I cannot have here small d's. So this one is in fact wrong, okay? This one should be what?
Lowercase d.
Little d.
A small d, because what is written here is not possible, okay? Glad you saw it, that was ID. So what is the genotype of the missing father? That's what we have on top. What is the phenotype of the parent? So the mother has what?
Both of them have dimples.
The mother has dimples, and the father?
Dimples.
Also dimples. So what does this look like? Is that, what do we get, guys? The phenotype 1, offspring 1, the children, how will they look like?
75%
75% will have dimples, and only the 25 resting won't have dimples.
Okay, perfect. Okay, guys, our last exercise for today, I want to do about this one, about blood types, okay? Because this is a real example, and I think it's a very important one, because what we see here is what we call codominance, okay? When two alleles are both dominant, okay? So A and B are both dominant. O is recessive, and we have a OA father, okay? The father is O with A. That's what I am. I'm OA, in fact, because my father is blood group O and my mother is blood group A, but I got blood group A. I have blood group A, okay? So that's possible. And the mother is OB, okay? So let's see what happens. This is really cool because that's especially the blood types. I really like it because this is what you can do with for yourself, you know? You can ask your parents what, yeah?
Like, for example, my mom is A, and my dad is B, and my brother is AB, but I'm O.
Okay, wait a second, Gretel. Let's have a look. We can do your case in a moment. I think it's nice. So quickly have a look here what the children will look like. Double O, AO,
AO, OB,
OB,
AB.
AE. Okay, so what is my offspring look like here?
25% OO, 25%.
Yeah, exactly. And this one becomes B because B is dominant. This one becomes A because A is dominant. Okay, so guys, let's get rid of this quickly. I mean, this exercise, let's delete it quickly. And I want to do as a last one, Gretel. Okay, Gretel. So let's see your case. In fact, tell me. So you said your father was what? I cannot write it.
Positive B.
Sorry?
Like B?
Your father is B. Okay, so that's all we know.
A, sorry. My father is A and my mom is B.
Okay, your father is A and your mother is B.
Yes.
Okay, let's see if we can discover what is the case. Because if your father is A, we only know for sure it's A. I don't know what his other allele is. I don't know that. If your mother is B, I also don't know what the allele is. But we can discover this.
Wouldn't the mom be AO?
So we still have to know
for someone to be.
Yeah. So Gretel, what is your blood group?
I'm O.
You're O. Okay. So if O is recessive, so that means that you have to be like this, right? So we can conclude. I mean, I cannot write it here because that would be wrong. So we can conclude that your mother should have an O, and your father should have an O. Otherwise, you cannot be O. Okay. And then you can fill it in, you know? So your brother, how can he be B? Your brother is AB.
Yes.
Yeah, there you have it. This is your brother and this is you. And if you have more brothers and sisters, you could have that one sister will be A and another one could be B, you know? So this is your case, Gretel, if you're interested in you. Okay, so this is Gretel, this is your situation. Gretel, this is you, this is your brother, and ask your parents to make more brothers and sisters, and you will see that it's possible that they will have A or B. I mean, or you have more brothers and sisters.
No, I just have one brother.
Okay, so okay, Gretel, let's do one last thing. So if you're double O, okay, let's make a little table. So like this. So you're double O, and then you have a boyfriend?
No.
No, not yet.
Eh.
Let's assume you have a boyfriend who is AO, okay? Let's assume that your future husband will be AO. then your children will look like, I disappeared. How will your children look like? I mean, it's very, very AO, AO. So it's for you very likely that your children will have blood group O. This is real life truth, what you see here. So if your boyfriend will be AO, this is how it looks like. 50% of your children will have blood group O, and 50% of your children will have blood group A. You can do that for yourself, guys. Please, I invite you. Ask your parents, check about these blood groups, and you can make your own little table.
Teacher.
How does it? Oh, sorry.
No, great. Please.
How does it work for positive or negative? Like there's positive O and negative O and positive B.
The rhesus factor, you mean?
I don't know what that means, but I know there's a positive and a negative one.
In fact, the positive and the negative is just another protein on top of the red blood cells, and this is discovered in a monkey which is called the rhesus monkey. And in fact, it's just the extra protein, and if positive is dominant and negative is recessive, that's why the big majority of people is dominant. So basically what you have to do if you want to include the positive and the negative, then you make exactly the same table, but you duplicate everything. You put A plus, A negative, O negative, O positive. You can do that, but then you're making it a little bit more complex. Because you have to know of your parents if they're positive or not. We can do that. We can do that, but not today. This is it for today, guys. Tomorrow we are going to have a look at corn. It's also the same thing about inheritance, but I think it's really important and very interesting to see where corn comes from. Okay. So see you tomorrow, guys, and this will be a group activity. It's been a long time we did a group activity, so that's on the program for tomorrow. And on Friday we will do a little quiz about this. And
Teacher,
yes,
you will share the exercises we did today with us, right?
yeah, of course, yeah.
Oh, thank you. And also, do we need to do the Punnett square exercises, right, that are in Canvas?
No, you don't have to do them.
Oh.
The homework, yes, but the ones that I'm going to upload, this is just for your own, you know, and you can rewatch the video of the class to see how to do it, because I will upload them empty. But yeah, there will be a homework, but I tell you all tomorrow about that. For today, there is no homework, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.